because that's what I was told to do. So I'd like to welcome everyone today to the Center for International Programs Lunch and Learn series on Farmer to Farmer. We have in the room here quite a few of the implementing partners, and some of them also are remote. And we appreciate anyone who's joining us remotely, hoping that you can hear us okay. So I'm going to just check to make sure this is recording. It is, so there you go. So I'd like to turn it over. I'm Lisa Loxman. I'm a National Program Leader in the Center for International Programs, but I'm going to turn it over to Sheila Sullivan, who's with Partners of America.
Hi everyone, as Lisa said, my name is Sheila Sullivan. I work at Partners of the Americas on our Agricultural Volunteer Opportunity Project, which is kind of like an umbrella overall of Farmer to Farmer. We manage our website, we do learning activities, knowledge management in general. Come on in. So I'm just going to give a quick overview of Farmer to Farmer in general for you guys, and I'll try and keep it brief so that we can get to the recruiters themselves. Next slide. All right, so just give a brief background, we'll get to recruiters, and then we'll talk a bit about how you can apply as well. Okay, so just generally, the idea behind Farmer to Farmer is that they're short-term volunteer consulting assignments by American volunteers from farms, agribusinesses, cooperative extension services, universities, food processing companies, consulting firms, banks, pretty much anything in the ag sphere. And you're paired with a host organization in another country to strengthen their capacity. These can be farmer organizations, small and medium agribusinesses, local NGOs, universities, banks or microfinance institutions, government staff, industry associations, individual farmer or environmental organizations.
So it sounds like anybody.
Yeah, it's not just farmers to farmers. It's a whole wide range of different occupations and different people connecting. All right. So the goal of Farmer to Farmer has two main goals. One is to generate rapid, sustained economic growth in the agricultural sector. But then the other is to increase the American public's understanding of international development issues. And then on the other side, to also increase people in other countries, their understanding of the US and US development programs. So in addition to having a goal related to economic growth, we also have one that's a bit more about person-to-person diplomacy as well. A little bit of background about Farmer to Farmer. We started in 1985, funded under the Agricultural Development and Trade Act, known as the Farm Bill. And there was a pilot project in 1985, I believe, run by HCDI VOCA. And every 5 years we get reauthorized, and we are just beginning the 2019 to 2023 program cycle. And there are 8 different organizations that work in different parts of the world, and they're listed there on the right. And you're going to hear from, I think, everybody today except for CNFA, but you should be able to find information about their program as well on their website. Okay, so a few keys to what makes Farmer to Farmer so successful that it's been around for so long, nearly 35 years, is first that it's demand-driven. We're not taking a top-down agenda with anything. We respond to the needs of local communities and the host organizations that we work with in those communities. So our staff work with the hosts to see what sort of volunteer support and services they want and need. And then they work with them to develop a scope of work to meet their own needs. And then we pair them with a volunteer who's generally mid to senior level with applied experience that they can use in the field. And then, like it says, we're focused on expert technical assistance. We're not sending high schoolers generally to work with these hosts. We're sending people who are experts in their fields. who can really bring some expert knowledge with them. Again, like I mentioned, there's a focus on person-to-person diplomacy. You know, you're building a much deeper relationship than you might be if, say, you were going on a consulting assignment to another country. It's a longer-term relationship with the people you work with. We are aligned with broader program strategies, so 92% of farmer-to-farmer country activities are aligned with USAID country strategies, and which tie directly into the host government's priorities. And all of the activities that we undertake are approved by the USAID country missions. And they ensure that we're not duplicating work by other USAID-funded projects in the countries. It's a competitive award process. Like I mentioned, there are 8 organizations implementing, and every 5 years they're proposing new ideas, shifts in strategies, new countries. So every 5 years they're bringing new things to the table. And then flexibility in pretty much every aspect of the program, from your volunteer assignment up to the countries we're working in. So that's definitely a huge key to what's made Farm to Farmer successful. All right, so a little bit about what happens before you go on a volunteer assignment. It starts with the staff in the country identifying the host organization that you'll work with, and they have careful selection criteria that they use to make sure that the host organization can benefit from having a volunteer work with them. The assignments are carefully planned and sequenced, so while you might be the only one there at that time, your assignment will likely be building on ones that people have already completed and will complete in the future. Each volunteer trip is organized around a detailed scope of work that has input from the host organization and should spell out to you exactly what they're hoping to get from you while you're there. And then we also work with local partners that serve sort of contributes to making your assignment successful and can provide follow-up support to the host organizations. So what we're looking for in volunteers, we'll hear more details about this from everyone else who's here, but first off, you have to have the skills that the host wants, and that can be pretty much anything, almost anything you can imagine. But if for some reason you were to apply and you haven't heard anything, it's not that we don't think you won't be a great volunteer. It might be that as of yet, there hasn't been a perfect match for your skills with a host organization. The timing of the volunteer trip is important. You also have to be available at the same time that the host needs you. You know, they're on a schedule with their farm, and so they might only require assistance at certain times. The volunteer must be flexible and healthy. The way that's worded, you don't have to be able to touch your toes. But you probably do need to be able to, like walk in some uncomfortable areas, be out in the field, and just generally be able to be in some perhaps slightly uncomfortable conditions, although that does depend on the assignment. And you'll need to complete a medical clearance, submit 2 references, and pass a background check. You should be available for between 2 to 3 weeks for your volunteer assignment. And ideally, after your assignment ends, it would be great if you were available by email or other remote communication methods to support the host if they have questions later on. All right, and finally, what we expect from you, as I mentioned before, flexibility. The countries where we're working are different from the US and from other countries you might be used to. So flexibility in regards to time, food, and other matters, things are gonna come up during your assignment that you can't foresee. So just keeping that in mind. There are also a number of administrative steps in order to go on your assignment and that are required once you return. So you have to review your proposed scope of work, making sure you can provide the services that are being requested. Signing a letter of agreement, completing a trip report when you finish, and an expense report. Each organization has slightly different procedures. And none of these are difficult tasks or will take a lot of your time, but they are things that we need. We also would hope that you do some public outreach when you return, or while you're on your assignment even. If you are active on social media, that would be great. You could post something on there, perhaps giving a talk to some sort of organization that you're active with when you get back. There's a number of different ways. And like I said before, it's very valuable if you can stay in touch with your host organization that you work with. And finally, just have fun while you're there and really enjoy it. We have many repeat volunteers who just continue to come back and continue to do different assignments in different countries or in the same country just because they enjoy it so much. All right, so I guess I should briefly mention, if you want more information, you can go to farmertofarmer.org, as you see up on the screen there. And then if you click at the top where it says volunteers, you'll come to a volunteer interest form that you can fill out. That will go to all 8 organizations, but you can also go, there's links on our page, you can also go to each individual organization's webpage to get a bit more detailed information from them about where they work, what they might be recruiting for, and to submit an volunteer interest form specifically to them. All right. So we'll move along and hear from each organization right now. So we're going to start with NCBA CLUSA and Sequoia, Ireland.
First of all, good morning, everyone. Thank you for those of you who are joining us online, as well as those of you all who are here physically, or those of you who may be watching this recording a little later. I'm Sequoia, Ireland, just like the tree. I work with NCBA CLUSA, which stands for the National Cooperative Business Association. And next slide. Next slide, yeah. And so our current focus is working on or in coffee systems. So many of us drink coffee, I assume. Yes, okay. Well, now is your opportunity to volunteer and help people who are involved in the coffee and cacao, because we also have some cacao projects that are going on in Peru. But now's the time for you all to come and lend us your expertise or provide technical assistance to these communities who otherwise would not be able to afford this technical assistance. As the National Cooperative Business Association, we do focus a lot on working with cooperatives. But, you know, coffee co-ops, cacao co-ops, they're all great people. And just to reiterate what Sheila said earlier, this is just kind of the flow as to how Farm to Farmer works. We really are demand driven. We want to make sure that we're meeting the needs of those communities who we're providing this technical assistance to. So, you know, we interview these communities to find out what exactly is it that they need. Sometimes you get a little extra information, you know, sometimes there's always that lapse. Well, I didn't know this was going on, but now we do. And we typically send people on 2 to 4 week assignments, and once the volunteer is identified, I place them in contact with the country director and recruiter in country. So before you arrive in country, you are able to communicate with our staff in country. We do ask that volunteers provide a written report prior to them leaving the country, because, you know, we want to know what is it that you found as the volunteer, and perhaps what, you know, recommendations would you have for that community moving forward. We also ask that volunteers do social media posts. Let us know, you know, if you're presenting in any of your community organizations, whether it be your church, your family reunion, wherever, let us know. You know, we want to keep tabs on you all, because our program would not be able to continue without the volunteers like you all. So these are just a few examples of some of the volunteer assignments that we have. So anyone can people from various backgrounds could be a volunteer. We're looking at engineering skills. We just had a volunteer who went down to Honduras to help a co-op with their energy efficiency. So they were paying these astronomical, electricity bills, and it was like, well, how do we reduce you all's costs to therefore save you all money so that you all can put this money more towards your coffee harvesting or your processing facilities. If you're a marketing expert, I don't know if anyone here is a marketing expert. I am not, but we do need volunteers like you all to help these groups, whether it could be something as related to social media, maybe improving their presence within the country, or if they're doing, if they're exporting their coffee. These are the type of things that they need. And if you go on our website, which will provide the information for you all to check out some of our assignments that we have available. I know right now we have like organizational development. I do have an anti-child labor, so if anyone knows anyone or is experienced in that, that would be great. But as we move further into the year, we're also looking at more coffee harvesting focused volunteer assignments. So please feel free to check out our website at NCBA CUSA and find out what assignments we have available that may fit your skill set.
Hello, everyone. I'm Diana Shipman. I'm with ACDI VOCA. And we have been working with volunteers since the beginning. Our VOCA stands for Volunteers in Overseas Cooperative Assistance, started in 1970. The volunteer program is part of our DNA. As you can see, since 1971, we have sent over 12,000 professional volunteers overseas. And many of them have participated in the Farmer to Farmer program. We are very proud to be one of the first implementers of the Farmer to Farmer program. We continue that tradition. We're very proud of the work that has been accomplished worldwide. And we enjoy collaborating with our other organizations. If you get to the next slide. We work all over the world. As you can see, we have experience almost all over the globe. We currently work in the darker countries there. And then if you go to the next slide. Our Farmer to Farmer countries are Armenia, the Republic of Georgia, Kyrgyzstan, and Tajikistan. We have a wide variety of topics that we work in each of these countries. I know that currently food safety, food processing is an area of focus that we have. We have topics such as cheese making, diversifying cheeses, packaging, quality control, international trade, wanting to trade with regional markets, international markets. We also have agritourism as an area of focus that we're working on, where we are working with small bed and breakfast or small hotels. They want to expand their product range, find things on their farms that they can sell and draw new tourists to them. So it could be soap making, it could be, sausages. There's a variety of things, topics that come to mind. We also work with people in marketing. We work with, post-harvest handling. We have orchard management assignments. I know that I've seen assignments for table grapes. I've seen assignments for, walnuts, hazelnuts. Trying to think what other topics come to mind. Fruit orchards, so plums, apples, those types of topics. We welcome everyone to also visit our website, see what assignments we have. They're constantly changing. You're also welcome to reach out to me individually and see what we have maybe in the pipeline that may not be listed on our website yet. I'm happy to talk with anybody. And my contact information is at the bottom there. Thank you.
Hi everyone, my name is Tanya Gaziani and I work with IESC. So IESC's mission is to apply private sector solutions around the world to improve standards of living, create and preserve jobs, and help enterprises grow. And we fulfill our mission by recruiting, mobilizing, and working with volunteer experts. And we've been doing that for over 50 years through IESC. So our Farmer to Farmer program is focused on access to finance. And it's designed to address deficits in the financial ecosystem that hinders investment and growth in agriculture for individual farmers, as well as micro and small and medium-sized enterprises, which is something that IESC focuses on, with a particular focus on women and youth. So like Sheila mentioned, we work with partner organizations and host organizations to field experts, not only from the US agriculture sector, but we will also be working with the corporate and banking sectors to address some of the constraints that farmers and lenders also in these targeted countries face while they're working on improving agriculture production. So the countries that we are working in or will be working in are Kenya, Tanzania, and Sri Lanka. And our program objectives is to enhance farmers' bankability via pre-loan preparation, including mentoring young people and women with entrepreneurship training and business plan development, financial management training, and improvement in productivity and market access by identifying appropriate equipment or technology and how they can obtain it. We also hope to catalyze product innovation by building the capacity of hosts, such as SACCOs, which are savings and credit cooperatives, microfinance institutions, banks, and government enablers, while helping them better understand the needs of farmer borrowers, mitigating any risks that some of these lenders might be facing, and trying to better reach women and young people as customers. And lastly, we want to provide post-loan support by coaching borrowers on how to manage their cash, repay loans, and increase savings, while also providing assistance on the utilization of equipment and technology to improve production and sales. Next slide. So some of the expertise that we're looking for in our programs are posted up here. Agriculture production, but like I mentioned, we do have a finance-based approach to what we're doing. So we are looking for folks who have a background in financial services, financial management, business development, but nonetheless, we do have agriculture-based programs, so also agronomy or supply chain optimization. Some of our upcoming assignments in Tanzania include market assessments, accessing new markets, agronomy and good agricultural practices, youth-focused agricultural lending product development. And in Kenya, we have agriculture insurance product development, marketing and promoting digital agricultural products, dairy production improvement, capacity building for producer organizations such as farmer groups. So you can see that there's sort of a variety, a mixture of agriculture and finance-based programming. Next slide. This is actually one of our volunteer experts who we recently fielded to Tanzania, Alan Lam, and he's been working on us on various projects throughout the years. So he's quite an expert volunteer at this point. But you can go onto our website at iesc.org or email us at farmandfarmer@isc.org to get more information on some of our assignments. Thank you.
Hi, good afternoon, everyone. My name is Priyanka, and I am the program officer and recruiter for our Asia countries with COS Farmer to Farmer. We're currently in 7 countries with CRS, and you'll see they're on the screen. So they're spread across different regions, and we have all different types of sectors for each one of the countries we're in. So as you can see for Benin, it's something very specific, cashew and soybeans, whereas for Timor, which is a much smaller country program, we are focusing on what we're calling a general agricultural sector. You'll see down at the bottom, Mali is in red, and the reason for that is Mali is an associate award for us. And so one of the few differences between Mali and the other country programs are that we also recruit non-US citizens as volunteers, whereas for the other countries, we're limited to US citizens or green card holders. But again, just to show you and give you an idea of the different countries and different sectors we're in. However, you will see, and as my colleagues before me have said, that in terms of the types of assignments that we're looking for, it it runs the gamut across all those different projects. So we could be looking at something in agronomy, business, nutrition. So it's really, there is something for, as Sequoia said, something for every volunteer. Even if you don't see it on our website right now, if you reach out, we'll keep your resume with us, and there will be something down the line that could be a good fit for you. I did just want to give you an idea of the types of assignments. We have like Benin, we're working with a volunteer who is increasing productivity in our cashew nut value chain. For Nepal, I'm actually looking for somebody who has experience with soil testing equipment in the laboratory. So that again is more very technical engineering type assistance. From Rwanda, we're looking at working with the government and helping them form their cooperative agreement. So it's something very high level, working directly with the government. And then from Mali, which is the Associate Award, it's very highly technical. It's working on zoonosis, and we're providing expertise in animal health laboratory surveillance. And so again, it's, as you can see, there are all different types of assignments across different sectors. So if you'd like to find out more, do visit our website, and you'll get a view of all of the websites, all of the assignments available, but also feel free to reach out for more info at any time. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Kelly McNally. I work for Partners of the Americas. Thank you for coming today. Next slide. Again. So Partners of the Americas is an organization works in Latin America and the Caribbean. And Farmer to Farmer is just one program that we work on. For this current 5-year cycle, we're going to be working in 6 different countries. So the first 3, Dominican Republic. We've been there since 2008. Guyana, we've been there since 1996. And Colombia, we've done flex assignments in that country previously, in previous Farmer to Farmer cycles. And I don't know if, Sheila, did you talk about flex assignments at all?
Not really.
Yeah.
So whatever
I don't know if it's something you
countries
wanna go
you
into.
see presented by all of the different implementers, there are also assignments in other countries and in other slightly different sectors that are called flex assignments that just fall outside of sort of the general scope of what's usually worked on in one country or one
Right.
sector.
Yeah, it's a really good opportunity for probably a lot of us here at the table and implementing partners to work outside of countries that we don't normally work in. Or in Partners' case, for example, we currently have flex assignments in Paraguay. And what was nice about that is entering that country based on relationships that we've developed with Paraguay as Partners of the Americas, but with other programs that have worked in that country. So it gives us the ability to branch out to other countries as well, outside of what our award states from USAID. So next slide. And then we are also working in Guatemala, Jamaica, and Burma. So besides Burma, it's generally the areas that we normally work in, but we're very excited to get outside of our comfort zone and to create new relationships in a totally different area of the world. Next slide. So this is what we do. These are some of the project strategies that we have, starting with rural enterprise development. I'll just give you a couple of examples of assignments that we do so you kind of get the idea of what the strategies are about. So for rural enterprise development, one strategy or one assignment that we had recently was an e-commerce strategy expert. In youth and agriculture, we had a specialist go to the field and talk to youth in apiculture. And in rural adaptation and resilience, we had a volunteer go to the field for climate smart agriculture. In high value horticulture, we had a volunteer go down for organic coffee production, horticulture production and marketing. We had a record keeping specialist go down to the field. And in livestock, ruminant nutrition and grazing. So that's all kind of to say, repeating what everyone else has said, we work in a lot of different fields. And as someone who's just recently entered into the agriculture field, sometimes I'm recruiting for people that I have no idea what their job is or what they do. So I rely very heavily on working closely with the field staff and also my counterpart in the office who develops the scopes of work And I think that, it's really important to have a good relationship between all of us and the volunteer. We work very closely together, and I really value those relationships because of it. Something that Sheila mentioned too earlier that, we haven't really talked about. This is an interesting program, and in that the host organizations that we work with, it's not just about what the volunteer does during their assignment, but the field staff we rely on so heavily because they're the ones to do a lot of the follow-up in a lot of these cases. So a lot of the time I'll get asked questions like, well, how is this program sustainable? And it's because of those relationships that we have with the host organizations in the field. Next slide. And then this is just an example of a recent assignment that we had, a Dominican bumblebee specialist. So this was interesting to recruit for. It was a very specific, particular assignment. Essentially, the host organization wanted to see, what's the possibility of improving native Dominican bumblebee species. And so this person that had experience in that field went down and analyzed the situation. And she had a lovely experience, based on what she wrote from her trip report. This trip has renewed my sense of urgency about our climate future. And because of this experience, she wants to apply to join Climate Reality Leadership Corps. So I think these assignments are not only impactful for the hosts that we work with, but also for the volunteers. And as well, if you're interested in working with Partners of the Americas, you can go onto our website. Don't have a link on the PowerPoint, but if you Google Partners of the Americas, we also have a list of the different assignments that we have open.
All right, I think Gretchen, you're joining us remotely.
Yes, hello. Can everyone hear me all right?
Yes, we can.
Oh, great. Thanks to everyone again for allowing us to come and talk about Farmer to Farmer. My name is Gretchen Hansen, and I work for Land O'Lakes International Development, and we're a 501c3 nonprofit organization, and we're founded in 1981 by our affiliated Land O'Lakes Inc., which I'm sure you all know as the butter company, but we're affiliated with them, and the organization is a Fortune 200 member-owned cooperative, the Land O'Lakes Inc. portion of it. In terms of Land O'Lakes International Development, most of our focus areas in terms of our projects are around crops, livestock, and dairy, but also, food safety and quality impacts a lot of the work that we do. And so for our Farmer to Farmer program, we are focusing on food safety and quality for the countries of Egypt, Lebanon, and Bangladesh. And if you could go to next slide, please. Thanks. So I just wanted to put this up here just to kind of talk a little bit about our program focus and why we're focusing on food safety and quality, and just kind of highlighting some of the things that, our host organizations that we've been working with in the countries that we're working in have discussed in terms of importance. And so as we're looking at, our programming and working with the hosts and targeting in terms of demand of volunteer technical assistance. And I think, some of my Farmer to Farmer colleagues that were talking a little bit about their programming in food safety and quality would agree that within the countries we work in, if not all, there's a huge lack of infrastructure and resources needed to strengthen their in-country food safety systems. And so we've, kind of targeted this and looked, at the different technical assistance that we could provide to the producers, processors, suppliers across the value chain to really help them build their capacity and food safety and quality processes and systems to kind of help, bring them up to provide safer, higher quality food for their consumers. And so, and kind of at the core of it, food safety and quality is fundamental to living happy and healthy lives. So we decided to kind of focus a lot of our assignments around that. And additionally, in terms of kind of wanted to point out the point here of the national agenda item, in Egypt and Bangladesh, there are newly formed food safety authorities in each of these countries that are just starting up and developing their policies and regulations and training inspectors within the countries. And so, we've been able to leverage, some of our current programming within Egypt through one of our other USDA funded projects to kind of help, work and partner with the National Food Safety Authority to kind of provide some assistance to them as well. And then also in Bangladesh, working closely with them to kind of help identify some needs there. And you can go to next slide, please. And then I just want to briefly touch on kind of our approach with finding a way to kind of create a framework. And, a lot of my colleagues today were talking about the sustainability of it and our field teams being really crucial to working with our host organizations after the volunteers leave. And so we've decided to use the Global Markets Program, which is under the Global Food Safety Initiative. And it's, if you go onto the GFSI's website, you can kind of look more into this, but basically they've provided this framework and assessment tool that allows small to medium enterprises to go through a checklist and identify gaps within their businesses. And so, this can be gaps at the production level. So it may be identifying, good agricultural practices that may be needed to help bring their company or business along, or it may be something at the traceability level or personal hygiene. And so by taking a company through this or business through this checklist, they're able to identify these gaps on their own. And that's kind of where we're plugging in our volunteers into those areas where we've had identified gaps through this checklist that we've been able to take our host organizations through. So then that allows them as well, once the volunteer leaves, that they have this clear path that, we know that not all of our organizations may want certification to eventually export their products, but, just by taking them through this path, they're able to identify gaps in just providing, safer food, cleaner food for their consumers. And then if you can go to next slide, please. And so this kind of highlights more of our types of assignments that we have. And so this kind of ties into the Global Markets Program framework that we're using. And, as you can see, it's kind of all through the value chain and identifying some of the risks that may come out of the gaps that our host organizations may identify. So a lot of our assignments are around good manufacturing practices. They're around food safety management systems. There's some HACCP assignments. There could be some, global gap assignments that come out, traceability. So kind of all things across the spectrum. And you can see that the volunteer assignments are kind of in that light green color, and just kind of some ideas of, what we're looking for. And we also sent volunteers out to do, different things in assessments of sampling techniques and just kind of a variety of things around the food safety and quality realm. So if any of you are interested in volunteering with us, our link to our assignments are there. And then, of course, please reach out to me.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Hello, can you guys hear me okay?
Yes.
Okay, great. So I'm Jennifer Robinson, and I'm going to speak today about farmer-to-farmer opportunities with Winrock International. Our headquarters is based here in Little Rock, Arkansas, and we've also got an office in Arlington, Virginia, and then many field offices all around the world. Next slide, please. So our program serves West Africa, and the countries are Guinea, Ghana, Nigeria, Senegal, Mali, and Liberia. And our activity areas are agriculture, education, and training, rural livelihood development, and increasing post-harvest quality. Next slide, please. In Guinea, Nigeria, and Senegal, we are strengthening ag education institutions such as colleges, universities, trade schools, other training institutions. Examples of assignments are institutional assessments and curriculum development. We've also got opportunities for business planning, general organizational development, grant writing, and then focusing on some technical topics and providing training guides and training of trainers. Next slide, please. We have a rural livelihoods development focus in Guinea and Mali to empower individuals through expanding ag-related livelihood opportunities. These types of assignments include business planning, organizational development again, record keeping, access to finance, and just other assignments that are more specific to the host businesses and organizational needs. The next slide, please. So for post-harvest quality in Ghana and Senegal, it focuses on addressing issues of post-harvest waste, quality control, and value addition. The assignments would include things like post-harvest assessment of various crops, maize, rice, peppers, really pretty much anything. Trainings on value addition for shea products, and many others, as well as food processing and food safety, which others have mentioned as well. Next slide, please. And just lastly, if you're interested in getting involved, just get in touch with us at any of the ways listed here. You can reach out to General Winrock or you can contact me directly. Thanks.
All right. Thank you everyone for joining us. I just wanted to state quickly, just to sort of clear up, if you're interested in volunteering, you can go to each implementer's website, you can see what open assignments they have. If you're not seeing anything that matches your skills, please do go to the farmer-to-farmer.org and fill out a volunteer interest form there. Like I said, what you fill out and your resume that you attach will be sent to every implementer and you'll go into their database. So I might be wrong, but generally the first thing you might do if you're looking to fill an assignment is check and see who's already in your database. So it's a valuable thing to do to both fill that out and then, also look at specific assignments as well. So I think we'll open it up for questions. Anyone in the room have questions?
Just a quick thought, not a question, but just a very quick comment. And first, thank you. Really, just superb presentations. Really, as you said, covers the gamut of really the ag and food sciences. Just want to say, the community that our organization, our institution, NIFA, National Institute of Food and Agriculture, reached out to. It's all these universities, particularly land-grant universities, but other universities as well. And there are faculty that cover all of those different topics, research and education, but particularly those folks involved in extension all throughout the country, because they so much, this is really what they do. So we think with the extension folks out there, extension professionals and extension specialists, and then all of the faculty involved in research and education. And then we have the PhD students who are very well trained as well. So we're thinking that there's quite a community out there of people. And then within our own organization here within NIFA, there's so many highly qualified people that could be interested as well. So just thanks.
We do have a question asking about graduate students being eligible to participate, and can PhD students participate? Yes.
Yes.
A wordless yes. So if you're a graduate student or a PhD student, definitely participate. There's also a question about language requirements for the different volunteer positions. Is there anything in specific that people need to know about for language requirements?
So if I can just answer real quick, I know for ACD Avoca, we have a specific program for master's and PhD students. So we design assignments specifically with them in mind. They tend to be a little bit longer term because we want them to get the experience in the field. So they're traditionally about 3 months in length. As far as language, it's not usually a requirement. I know for us specifically, we do require it for assignments in Latin America. So that those assignments we require Spanish speakers, but I can't speak for everyone else.
Generally, I would say it's not a requirement. Translation will be provided by the field staff in the country.
Okay, so just basically, they'll find that out when the request is with the opportunity to apply.
Right.
Okay, so check that. And someone wants to know if language ability makes the applicant more successful.
Potentially.
It helps.
Yeah, it definitely doesn't hurt.
I think it helps with connecting
with the beneficiaries directly, but there's been successful assignments with volunteers who don't speak the language.
Yeah.
Okay, so it has the potential for making an applicant more successful. Does prior experience in the country help the applicant?
Same sort of thing.
Yeah.
Same sort of
It's not
response.
required, but it can help, definitely.
Okay, so
I would say too, like kind of similar to that, one thing that can be beneficial is like for a lot of assignments, if it's an agriculture production assignment, sometimes the field office will prefer that, say, for example, someone has experience in tropical. For us personally in Latin America and the Caribbean, we might say that, like, you know, if you've been to those countries and you've studied tropical agriculture, that might make you a stronger applicant.
okay.
And maybe within the U.S., folks that are in Florida, Puerto Rico,
Yes.
Hawaii, may have that.
Virgin Islands.
Virgin Islands, of course, yes,
Yeah.
right there.
Oh, and we have a comment here. I have been a farmer to farmer volunteer several times. This is Bill Haran. And I think it's a great program. Are there or can there be more opportunities for assignments for couples or small groups? That's something I just want to throw back to you all implementing partners.
I'll let one of you guys answer that, but.
Oh, and Jennifer and Gretchen, please just, jump in.
I will say that I'm not sure what Bill's expertise is, but particularly for our institutional assessments that we have in West Africa, those often work well as a couple or team assignment.
And at ACA Avoca, we have sent team assignments as well. It depends on the topic, really, and what the two specialists do and how it complements each other. We're certainly open to discussing it. So if a volunteer has an idea, we're open to a conversation about it.
But that said, at the same time, we do try to keep it demand driven. So
Absolutely.
we're not going to send a couple because they want to travel together. They each need to bring their own skills to the table, and it needs to correspond with the needs in the field.
Agreed.
So just to follow up on that, would that be also in the position description that people would be applying for the scope of work, that it's a team approach done, and that you would actually be trying to get a team together? I'm just asking because I haven't seen that kind of advertisement. But
I've seen that before. Like, so I've received scopes of work from the field, and they'll put on the scope of work that, you know, the scope of work is supposed to be attached with this other scope of work, and it's helpful to me so that I know that that's what I need to recruit for. But at the same time too, we've had a different kind of example where it was organic coffee production and then organic coffee marketing, that it wasn't really intended that two people went together, but we had a father and son that could do both at the same time, and it just worked out well.
okay, so it depends.
It depends. And we've had assignments, for example, where husband and wife went out. The husband is a specialist in agriculture, and his wife was a nutrition specialist. And we did them on, we sent them on a partner team assignment, and it worked out fabulously.
And then here's another question. Is there ever a chance to work with an in-country organization to collectively create the scope of work catered toward a particular expert?
Yeah, there are, I think that means like a planning assignment to work with host organizations. Yes, there are opportunities for that.
Okay. Would they, and who would they need to touch base with to, whoever is, if I understand from the person who's written this question, they would then work with that and submit it to the farmer to farmer website page as a demand? I mean, how's that work?
I mean, I guess instead of looking for a specific assignment, there might be one related to that, but if not, apply through the farmer to farmer volunteer interest form, state specifically that, you know, you could be interested in planning process, or I don't know exactly how you guys would word it, but
Anybody else want to contribute to a response there? The other question is, how often does one need to submit their credential form to the farmer-to-farmer.org volunteer database? Should it be once? Is it annually? What's the frequency of updating that you would suggest?
So as we've just started our new 5-year cycle, I would say once, but if your skills change or your availability changes, then you could update it
Especially if you've received some type of technical training or certification that could make you more competitive or more marketable for a country or assignment that you're very interested in. We're always interested in seeing continuing development, professional development, and how we can really help those folks. And I'm not really sure. I know I've had conversation with you all about how many assignments you're actually looking for on a yearly basis. Throw that out there because it's not a small number.
It varies.
It varies. But overall, on average, how many assignments do you solicit in a year?
Like about 115
A year?
a year.
Oh, yeah. Well, I was thinking
Between all of
About
those
100.
partners?
between everyone,
Oh, between everyone.
Oh.
Okay. Oh.
1,000?
maybe not 1,000.
Maybe not 1,000.
It's pretty high up in the
Yeah.
Okay, somewhere over 500 applications.
Yes,
So
definitely.
you're looking for a lot of people.
Yes, we are.
Yeah.
So in the hundreds, you would deploy over a year.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Easily. And I'm just checking, Gretchen and Jennifer, you're nodding heads saying yes.
And that's collectively hundreds.
Yes. And then a question, is there ever opportunity to have multiple visits to the same organization?
Yes.
And the nods here in the room are yes. So
encouraged.
it's encouraged.
Yes.
I know personally, I've spoken to one extension agent who's actually had 3 assignments that with the same organization, you, and has had that opportunity just building upon their skill sets. And then others who have reached out from county offices in states where they've said farmer to farmer volunteers, and then they of course let us know here at NIFA that they were participating, which is kind of cool. So we don't always hear about it. So why we were looking forward to this opportunity is just to share the wealth of information and the opportunities. Other questions there? How about in the room?
I'll ask a question about the folks that are working in Latin America, Guatemala, Honduras. Who was that? Here. So are there any issues with the Trump administration policies about immigration that are impacting your all's ability to recruit or provide service?
We can
Yes. So ability to recruit at this point, no. But there is a possibility that we may have to go to another country. It depends on what our government tells us. But for right now, we're still going in El Salvador and Honduras, working with those coffee producers. So
Yeah.
Thank you.
And I just also want to acknowledge that we here at the Center for International Programs have worked with the federal counterpart who actually funds the Farmer to Farmer program through USA. And I know that John Peters is on, as well as Aaron Bays and Siobhan Leonard. But John's actually listening in, so in case anyone has any questions, we can direct them to him as well. But I want to thank you all. Are there questions? As we're nearing almost the hour for lunch here in DC.
If I could just say one of those small point, again, joining with you in the thank you, is many of the universities that we work with, faculty and researchers, educators, and extension people, are always looking for ways to bring an international dimension into their programs and looking for how they can be more globally engaged. And this, of course, is really a wonderful opportunity. So hopefully, more of the folks we have contact with by viewing this webinar will contact you, and hopefully you'll have an even larger reservoir of qualified volunteers to do the good work that you're doing.
Please do spread the word, most of our volunteers, maybe most, I don't know, word spreads, they tell one person who refers somebody else who refers somebody else. So let everyone you know. And just a little plug that if by any chance you're interested in implementing your own small farmer to farmer program through your organization or institution, that our request for applications is currently open, which you can find out more about on farmertofarmer.org.
Great. Well, we want to just thank you all, and we're getting lots of thank yous. Kudos to you all for the information and everything. And people are noting that they're former volunteers with AC Iboka and Land O'Lakes International. So you got a fan club out there. Folks. Really cool.
There's a point where.
Yeah, one thing that I do want to make sure everyone understands is because this is a volunteer opportunity, we understand that you all have taken the time out of your busy schedules, whether you're working or retired, and we do cover the expenses associated with this assignment. So I know that can be very helpful to people in terms of helping them decide whether or not they want to volunteer. So translating costs, transportation, accommodations, we do cover those things.
Great to know.
Yeah, airfares.
We'll even arrange your flights.
Yeah.
We'll help you with
Exactly.
visas.
Right, that's probably very
We'll
important.
take a lot of the
We should
stress
have,
out.
Yeah, that's a very important point,
Yeah.
yes.
You heard it. They take care of a lot of the logistics.
That's right.
And again, basically funding your travel to the country.
That's
And your stay in the country, right?
We have a wonderful field staff that will greet you at the airport and, you know, be with you and provide support throughout the assignment. So
Well, thank
No
you
worries.
all for your participation remotely, to Gretchen and Jennifer for sharing remotely, and we appreciate your involvement. For those of you all in the room, it's been great to have this webinar. We have taped it so that we can keep a record of this and share it with others who couldn't be physically with us either in person or remotely. So thank you so very much.
Thank you.
Yeah.